Good evening, everybody. The Music Fan is back, bringing smiles to the faces, knowledge to the people, and most importantly, music to the masses. And I am back with the fourth part of my top 50 albums of 2019. So far, we've gone over numbers 50 through 21. Phenomenal albums across the board. Hopefully, you found some that have interested you and that you want to check out. These 10 before the top 10. There's someone here that definitely could have made the top 10. We're talking about the cream of the crop that just missed the top. Of course, like I've said before, first off, this is my opinion and my opinion alone. If you have any criticisms about my list, please let me know in a constructive fashion. Let me know what your favorite albums from the past year was. Maybe there are some that I just didn't listen to. Maybe they're in previous spots on the top 50 list. Maybe they're my honorable mentions. Maybe it's in my top 10. Who knows? Secondly, this is an albums list. This is not a songs list. Songs make up an album, but popular songs don't make necessarily a cohesive album. I'm grading this on albums and not songs. So bear that in mind as we go on. Number 20, we have Unveil with The Origin of My Depression. A harrowing album to listen to. It is kind of like on the lines of Lingua Ignota, where it's really tough to swallow sometimes. This is an album from a transgender performer, and this particular person is really honing a lot of very raw emotion on this album. It is a really hard album to listen to at times, but it's also a very beautiful album in parts, and I love the overall flow of this, where it starts off minimal and beautiful, and then it goes into more industrial passages before going back to something a little bit more beautiful at the end. This is one of the rawer albums that I've listened to all year, and again, this isn't going to be for everybody, but if you can stomach that, you definitely should check it out. Number 19, we have Lizzo with 'Cause I Love You. I can't deny it. It's a phenomenal album. There's so many different bangers on this album. There's a lot of really solid singles. This was one that I wasn't going to check out until the recommendation of one of my close friends. I am so happy that I took a listen to it. Does it have the depth of some other albums on this list? No, but there are so many really solid songs that if you like pop in general, you are going to like this album. Number 18, we have another pop album with Marianas Trench with Phantoms. An album that I should have checked out in March. Someone recommended to me on my channel, but I thought it was a joke. And then I checked it out on a whim and enjoyed the hell out of it. This is the perfect way of using the Imagine Dragons approach on songs. It has a lot of that more mainstream pop rock idea, but it also works so well because it includes certain vibes of Queen and older rock. Also, the lead singer's voice is absolutely incredible. I don't know if it's necessarily because of production on the album or if this is his real voice, but I don't care. It is a really catchy pop rock album. This is what Panic! At the Disco should have turned into, but did not. If you've been trying to fill that Panic! At the Disco Fall Out Boy niche and you've been realizing that the last couple of albums from them haven't been great, this is where you finally have another band to step in. Definitely check it out if you love this type of vibe. Number 17, we have Leprous with Pitfalls, an album that surprisingly rose up the ranks. And why it is because there are so many solid songs on here. This is the lightest album from Leprous, but it does not mean that it is one-dimensional. It doesn't mean that it's simple. It's absolutely beautiful, and there's a lot of really good building on here. And some even beautiful pop-ish songs. If pop was like this, I would be super happy. Alleviate is an absolutely beautiful pop song. Observe the Train, absolutely gorgeous as well. I love the building of At the Bottom. Distant Bells has a very solid Tool vibe, and I absolutely enjoy the building on here. One of my favorite soul building songs of the year. And even The Sky is Red has finally caught on with me. Overall, I don't have a lot of negatives, and yes, there are some songs that don't necessarily have the same build, but it is still a worthwhile listen. Don't be put off just because they have a softer and more pop vibe. It still is very experimental, very artful, and very tasteful album. Number 16, we have American Football with American Football LP3. My first dive into American football, and one that was super enjoyable. I love the vibe of it, the very meditative arrangements, the beautiful guitar, the absolutely beautiful production on this album. It is very transcendental at times, and overall it is one of the better pure listens that I listen to all year. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the same depth at the end, but I absolutely love songs like Uncomfortably Numb with Haley Williams as a guest star and Every Wave to Rise. Phenomenal album. I understand that some American football fans haven't been as high on it, and maybe it's because I haven't checked out the other two albums, but it at least is a good start in my opinion, and I would love to check out the other two. Number 15, we have Richard Henshall with The Cocoon, the other album that I did not know about until Matt O'Leary put it in his top list of 2019. Richard Henshall, for those of you who don't know, is one of the members of one of my favorite prog bands, Cocoon. And when I found out that he had put out this album, I was immediately listening to it, and I really enjoyed most of it. That flair that you get from Cocoon is really strong on this album, and there's some really incredible arrangements. I think it could have hit my top 10 if I had a little bit more time to listen to it. Definitely a recommendation. If you love Cocoon, you're going to love this album. Number 14, we have Blue and Oh No with A Long Red Hot Los Angeles Summer Night. I love classic hip hop. I love storytelling, and this is a perfect melding of the two. The idea of this album is taking a look at one really crazy night in Los Angeles, and I don't want to spoil all of it, but it is a phenomenal ride. It reminds me a little bit of kind of like One Shot, Two Shot, one of Eminem's songs, where you have all these guest rappers singing together and making a cohesive story throughout. Just take that idea and put it into one whole entire album, and that's what you get. One of the more enjoyable rap albums I listen to from front to back. I love the story. I don't know if this is the only album they have collaborated on, but if that is the case, I would love to hear more from them. Next, at number 13, we have Hozier with Wasteland Baby. This one also surprised me. I didn't think it was going to be this high, but as I listened to it more and more, there's not a bad song on this album. There's some weaker songs, but there's not a bad song on this album. This is my first full album from Hozier, and I absolutely loved it. I love the more artsy folk rock ideas. While the arrangements are really solid, Hozier's singing on here is also really great. And overall, it just made for one of the more complete albums I listened to all year. I'm surprised that this album did not get as much praise as it did, because in terms of a more alternative mainstream artist, he did phenomenal throughout this album. If you've not listened to it other than Nina Cries Power or Move, you're definitely missing out. Number 12, we have Soen with Lotus, the most diverse Soen album to date and one of the more memorable ones in my opinion. It has become my favorite Soen album. There are so many great songs on this album. Whether we're talking about the hard-hitting Opponent, the more subdued Martyrs, or even the beautiful Lotus, you have so many great songs. And then River at the end is absolutely gorgeous as well. It was really close to being in my top 10, but I think there just needed to be a little bit more diversity to make it stand out into my top 10. Still, best Soen album to date. If you have been sleeping on Soen, wake up, you need to listen to them. And finally, number 11, and the one that barely missed my top 10, we have Devin Townsend with Empath. A lot of you metal fans are going to be surprised that it's not in my top 10. And the biggest reason is kind of the same reason why Kamasi Washington and Heaven and Earth was not in my top 10 last year. Both phenomenal albums, some of the most complex albums of the last 2 years. However, it doesn't hold up, in my opinion, as much as it did at the beginning of the year. I love the ride of Empath, but Singularity, the 24-minute song, as much as I loved it before, it's not standing out as much as it did previously in the year. Unfortunately, when that is a big chunk of your album, I can't necessarily put it in my top 10. It's really close, it really is. I am not denying that this is an incredible album. The album itself is such a journey to go on, and one that has so much power, so much just diversity. It's a really hectic and creative album. But if I was to look at my top 10 and this one, I would go to the top 10 more often than I would go to this album. So unfortunately, it does not make my top 10. It just misses, but it's still worth your time if you love metal, if you love life metal, if you love progressive metal, if you love just really complex albums. This is for you. So there we go. That's 20 through 11. An already incredible list if I do say so myself, but I would love to hear what you guys think about it. Let me know if you like or hate these albums and the reasons why. Let me know about what you think about my list so far. Let me know your favorite albums from 2019. Share this with your friends. Most importantly, subscribe to my channel. That way I know that you enjoy what I'm doing and want to see this channel become bigger and better for the future. So we are done with the honorable mentions. We are done with 50 through 41. We're done with 40 through 31. We're done with 30 through 21. And we are done with 20 through 11. That just means one last thing. We gotta go over the top 10. And I'm not doing it alone. I got a special guest coming up. One that you haven't seen in a little bit, but one that you'll definitely be happy to see again. That's just a little tease until tomorrow when we start looking at my top 10 albums of 2019. Until then, this is Music Fan, and I'm signing off.